I'm Kimberly Rivers with the Ojai Valley News, and we're here at the fabulous and beautiful Soul Park brand new pickleball courts that have been open for 1 week. I'm here with two spokespeople with the No on Measure O committee. Measure O is a ballot initiative that will be on the November 5th ballot for Ojai City voters, and it's in regards to the City Hall pickleball courts at the Ojai City Hall. So let's get started, and you please introduce yourselves.
Yes, hi, I'm Karin Quimby. I'm part of the Ojai Vote No on Measure O ballot campaign, and I'm just thrilled to be here. Thank you to the Ojai Valley News for inviting us to speak to you. And what I want to say is just that, Measure O is an attempt by a special interest group to keep the courts at City Hall in perpetuity for pickleball play. And that's why pretty much all of the past, present, and future city leaders have endorsed the no position. Not all, but past mayors include Steve Olson, Joe DeVito, Carol Smith, and Johnny Johnston are voting no on O. Current city council members, Mayor Betsy Sticks, Pro Tem Mayor Andy Whitman, Sousa Francina, Councilmember Sousa Francina, and Rachel Lang are all supporting the no on O ballot. And finally, we've just learned that all three candidates for City Council and Mayor have now endorsed the no on O position. That is Andy Gilman running for mayor, Michelle Pinheiro running for mayor, and Kim Mang, who's running for District 4. So,
okay, wonderful. And
I'm Jessica McCrea. I'm a local realtor and Ojai business owner, Hey Bingo. And my father lives right next door, and he's been to the Ojai Demonstration Garden, which is a very nice, quiet neighborhood used by the community for composting, teaching about gardening, things like that, at night, natural gardening. And he's been there for over 30 years. And he has been greatly impacted by the pickleball play there. From the first day of play, he was basically, please make this stop. It's so disturbing, the sound. And there's some people out there on the opposition side that are saying that he can't hear it anymore, and that's just not true. We all have so much on our plates right now. We wouldn't be fighting for this if that were true. If it were something that he could live with, that the neighbors could live with, we wouldn't still be here fighting to make it stop. And so, yeah, that's why we're here, is just to, make sure people understand this isn't just about let them play pickleball, because of course you have a beautiful place to play pickleball. It's not about making them stop, taking anything away from them. It's giving the neighbors in that quiet small neighborhood their peace back, and that's why I'm on the committee to get that information out to people.
Yeah, there's been so one of the responses is kind of like the folks bought houses or moved there across the street from a park, and that there's certain activities or noises that one might expect to be at a park. And so what's the response to that?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that question, because there's two kinds of parks. There's passive parks and active parks. And the historic Oak Woodland City Hall Park has always been a passive park. And that is where, quiet activities happen. There was the demonstration garden, the children's memorial that's been run out by the pickleball. And so when the city council voted in 2019 to open those courts there, they changed the use of that parkland from passive to active. And so from quiet to noisy. And they did that without notifying the neighbors, without doing any due diligence studies on impacts of the noise, of the traffic. There's no bathrooms there for the park. There's no dedicated parking at the moment. It's City Hall parking. So that's what we would say, is that it has historically been a quiet park.
Mm-hmm. Okay, even though it was, I guess, unused as a tennis court And so, like,
Has any? Yes.
I was just going to say, how long ago was that? Maybe 40, 50 years ago at the earliest. It was just part of the tennis courts was just part of the estate that was gifted to the city. And what the city has been doing with that land and that piece is just having a community garden, a community peaceful place to go. They were using those courts as picnic tables, which is a perfect use for that spot, is maybe picnic tables, an event here and there. It's a beautiful spot to do that, just not active, loud play in such a tiny little neighborhood that was never ever used that way.
And in fact, if you look at the Green Coalition's plan for the City Hall campus, it's a quiet park plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's passive recreation, it's educational, it's not a loud racket sport. And look, no one knew how loud pickleball was when they approved this in 2019. But as Susa Francina said in your publication last week or the week before, she knew the very next day it was a mistake to have voted and to open the courts. But unfortunately, it took the council several years of studying the issue to then determine again that this was not an appropriate place for an active, loud, extremely loud sport. And the loudness doesn't just come from the paddles and balls, which are, we can hear them right now, and plastic balls and wooden paddles, but from the yelling and the shouting and the enthusiasms of the game. You can hear it also here. It's part of the game, and that's why, we love that. It's appropriate to have it out in a place where it's not bothering the neighbors in a quiet residential neighborhood.
Is there anywhere in the city, like, I've also been hearing that folks are saying, we should have some pickleball in the city, or that would be nice for the city.
This is for the city. It's not that far away. It truly isn't. You're going to be athletic and exercise. This is not that far to go. And I know everyone's trying to push to get the bike trail to come all the way to Stowe Park. I really hope that happens, and I hope you all band together to help that become a reality. This really isn't that far to go. And we have at some point in time seen if there was another spot. There's been several groups and people trying to find another spot. No one wants this next to their house.
The Parks and Rec Commission, in fact, looked at other spots. Yeah. They surveyed all of the parks. The park, the quiet park, the passive park over off of Brown Street, it's a little pocket park as a possibility. They looked at the Ojai Rotary Park at the entrance. That's also a quiet park. That's also a passive park. And they found no other spaces in the city, including Sarasota Park, which is an active park, that would be appropriate because of the noise issue to put these courts. So even they determined in their pretty exhaustive survey that there was no other spot to put them. And that's why, as part of that survey, they hired a sound engineering firm, a Pro Pickleball. It's called Pickleball Sound Mitigation Incorporated. And they came out, and surveyed, measured the noise professionally of the City Hall courts, the potential of putting them in the lower Libby courts, and then out here at Soul Park. And what they found is that the Soul Park courts pose no issues of noise for the closest neighbors 1,200 feet away. And the Libby Hall courts, lower Libby courts would be a problem as well for noise because the closest residence is less than 250 feet away, and the sound travels up along that ridge of Soul Park. So they said you could potentially build a sound barrier up there, a tall 8-foot high fence, vinyl fence that might or might not solve the problem of noise. And then they said for City Hall, it's a quote, major violation, end quote, of noise standards. And to solve that problem, they said players would have to play with quieter balls and paddles, and the city would have to build a 15-foot barrier around all four sides of the court to properly mitigate the noise from those courts. So it wasn't just using quieter paddles and balls, it was also installing this barrier Or if the players didn't want to play with quieter paddles and balls, they could build a 30-foot barrier around the whole court.
And was that something that folks were amenable to? I mean, so they've moved with the quieter equipment, the wall.
I think nobody wants the wall. I mean, the city doesn't want, it's at a considerable expense.
And the eyesore.
And an eyesore
Just,
on this historic, beautiful,
Yes.
oak woodland parkland. So the expense, I think, was running around $200,000 to build that.
So I did want to ask, and you said it in your opening kind of statement, and it's on some of the stuff you're putting out, you're using the word special interest, that it's a small special interest group. Maybe tell me a little bit more about that, because when I spoke to the folks, they're local people. And so what do you mean by when you say that it's a small special interest?
Well, they're a special interest in that they have one goal in life, which is to play pickleball. Okay. And so that's it's the Ojai Pickleball Club, that's what they want, and they want to play it in the place they want to play it. Even though they're all out here playing today, all the leaders of the pickleball club are out here playing along with all their friends, and but they want that court because it's as Howard put it to us, it's magical, and that's what's most important to them versus how it impacts the neighbors.
Okay. And so would you agree that it is or how many residents, in your view and in talking to folks, that are the neighbors, are saying this is too much for me, I don't like this, I don't want it, roughly?
Well,
There's a handful of residents that are making this complaint, but all you have to do is go on Google and Google pickleball noise issue, and you can see that it's not just a little Ojai issue. It is a nationwide issue. There are people being chased out of their homes, driven insane, lawsuits all over the country because of this noise. It's not just a decibel noise issue, it's the type of noise that gets in your brain, and you can't think, you can't function, because this is just going in all day. And they may not find it's a problem because they come and they play for an hour and they go home. They've brought this into this neighborhood, their homes, and they have to sit there and listen to this all day long. So it's not about, because and that's a point too. It's a small neighborhood. They're having 200-300 people invade their neighborhood, loud and obnoxious, without a care to the people who live there and have lived there for years. And so there's a small amount because it's a very tiny neighborhood, and they should matter though. They should matter. That's their home.
and look, we are all for pickleball,
Yes.
and we think it's fantastic that people are having so much fun playing it. I play also. But it's not appropriate to put it 100 feet away from residences. And this is, like Jessica said, an issue all over the country. So the city council finally got it right. Say, you're right, it's not appropriate to have it 100 feet. It's cost prohibitive to build the kinds of sound mitigation that would be necessary. So let's instead invest our funds out here at Soul Park, where there's parking, there's bathrooms, there's full park infrastructure here, and these beautiful courts.
Okay. I feel like that covered all the things that I had questions about. Is there anything else I didn't ask or that you want to make sure people know?
We're asking people to be good neighbors.
Yes.
That's our bottom line. It's like, what would you feel if this was foisted on you next to your house? And look, these neighbors have lived there long before the courts, the City Hall campus was changed from a passive park to an active park. They've lived next to a passive park. The tenants that live in the buildings that my parents own, which is why I'm part of this this process here is because they've lived there for decades, and they are wonderful tenants, and we want to make sure that their quality of life can be returned to their right to a quiet and peaceful enjoyment of their home.
And so to get more information, was there something else you wanted to say to wrap that up? So to get more information on the No on Measure O perspective, you can visit the website.
Yes.
www.ohivotenoon.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica and Karen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay.